Week 2 only had 4 games, and it still found a way to top week number 1. We saw comebacks. We saw meltdowns. We saw outstanding goaltender performances. Ladies and gentlemen, week 2 had it all. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the NLL Flash. My name is Tino Fera, and I'm here to get you set for another week of National Lacrosse League action. But before we get to week 3, we have to look back at the week that was. Let's look back at week 2. The first game of the week just so happened to be the first game ever for the Las Vegas Desert Dogs. Who is John Wagner will be the answer when the question of who scored the first goal in Desert Dogs history inevitably gets asked on Jeopardy. Mark your calendars, that is coming up. A 6-goal third quarter for Panther City ended up being the biggest difference maker, though, as they took down the Dogs 13-11. The Seals played host to the Rush in a game that perfectly defines a nail-biter. By the end of the third quarter, Sask was sitting comfortably with a 10-4 lead, but 8 straight goals from San Diego, 9 if you include Mac O'Keefe's goal at the end of the third quarter, gave them their first lead of the game and had that building absolutely rocking. The Rush would force overtime, but it didn't matter. Curtis Dixon sent them packing. What a game. The Rochester Nighthawks proved a lot of people wrong when they took down the Toronto Rock at home. Rylan Hartley stopped 50 of 57 shots, while Connor Fields stayed hot, putting up 7 more points. And finally, despite a 5-point night from Mitch Jones and a 6-point night from Keegan Ball, the Roughnecks took down the Warriors by a final score of 11-9. Now, last week we did put a poll out like we said we were going to, asking you all, the viewers, what you thought the Flash game of the week should be. And we thought about doing it again this week, but we didn't really want to leave it up to chance because, of course, the Flash game of the week needs to be the Vegas home opener, their first ever game at home. So we're going to talk about it. All right, it is that time of the show where we get to introduce our guest and our analyst for the episode. And coming in for his first episode on the program, the play-by-play voice for the Vancouver Warriors, who are in action at home this week, Mr. Jake Elliott. Jumbo, how are you doing?
What's going on, Tino? This is a little role reversal here. Usually I'm the one introducing you on the podcast, but here we are. First time doing this Flash thing. Pumped to be here, man. What's going on?
Yeah, not a lot. I was going to say there's one time when I did play-by-play and you did color, but I think other than that, this is the only time where I've got to be in the host chair and you have to be the co-host, so suck it, man.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be quite frank with you. But we'll persevere here. Yeah.
All right, well, let's hop right into it. As we've already mentioned, our Flash game of the week for this coming up week is the first ever game at home for the Vegas Desert Dogs. They're going to be taking on, once again, the Panther City Lacrosse Club. So, Jake, let's just jump into it. If you were to grade Vegas's overall performance from week 2, what kind of grade would you give them? What do you think about their performance?
Well, I can't give them like the upper echelon of letter grades because they didn't win the lacrosse game, right? So I'm not going A, I'm not going B. I think a C+ might be warranted here, though, for Las Vegas. Very competitive game. You know, there had to be a lot of jitters there leading into that first game. And we just had the CEO of the Desert Dogs, Mark Fine, on the podcast, and he mentioned the fact that he liked that they started the season on the road just to kind of, settle in a little bit. I thought they did that. A lot of good signs coming away from that game for the Desert Dogs. I thought the goaltending was solid. I really like the looks of this Jack Hanna. And now they return home and they're going to get a few bodies into their lineup as well, which is really going to help their offense. So C+ to make a long answer a little bit longer.
We almost had Jack Hanna on the program as well. He was just out of our reach, but we're going to keep him in mind for future episodes. But keeping with Vegas, unfortunately for them and for their fans, Marshall King is a guy that found himself on the injured list heading into week 2. There's talk that he might be off that list heading into week 3. But if he is, what does Marshall King bring to that offense and to that team overall?
Well, I think he brings another dynamic that they don't really have. He's got really impressive vision of the floor, much similar to his older brother Jesse. Like he just sees the floor. I think the game slows down for him a little bit. He possesses an absolute hammer for an outside shot as well. And successful summer with the Victoria Shamrocks. Like I think we heard Marshall say on OTCB, like he didn't really fit into that Calgary offense. He wasn't super confident in that Calgary offense, and he's come in here to Las Vegas. He's been instilled with confidence, and I think he's going to start the season like that. A little tough break for him not to get into their first one, but I think more than anything, I think the rest of the Vegas Desert Dogs offense is going to benefit from Marshall King being in there. Not only, the defensive responsibilities he'll draw, but he's just one of those kind of guys that makes everybody around him better and play a little freer. So he's going to add a lot to that Vegas lineup if he, in fact, does get in.
All right, Jake, let's move over to Panther City, and I'm going to drop a stat on you. I don't know if you would have known this stat or not, but tell me what you think about this. So, of Panther City's entire roster, there were only 5 players that didn't record a point. That includes their defense. So, with that in
Wow.
mind, is a well spread out offense and attack something that Tracy Kolesky, is that something that he emphasizes throughout his entire lineup?
I would say so. I would think, Tino, that I was just looking to see if someone was going to drop on me there for a second out of this guy. But I would think that every coach would love to have that in their lineup. If you're getting production from almost every single guy in your lineup offensively, and then, of course, the guys are going to do their job defensively on loose balls and what have you. But I would think that every single coach in the league would want to have that stat going into a game where they know that they're going to get production out of everybody, whether that keeps up or not. That's kind of a crazy stat. Like, I don't think that is going to be a normality, if that's a word, I think. But hey, you take it when you can get it. And if you can get it, more often than not, you're going to be successful. So we'll see if it happens again here from Panther City, whether they can get that kind of production out of some unlikely suspects, but we'll see.
I think normality is a word. If it's not, it's in my dictionary. So if it's
All right.
not, I'm just as dumb as you are.
Book
Whatever.
it, Tino. Book it.
Book it. There you go. All right. Well, let's move on to the remaining 6 games that we're going to be seeing. So just in order here, our TSN game of the week, another rematch from last weekend. We got Calgary at Vancouver. That's this Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at Rogers Arena. Also on Friday, we have the rematch that we've been just talking about, Panther City at Vegas. Vegas's first ever home game. Then let's move on to Saturday, and this is a jam-packed schedule, so I hope you have a lot of screens available. Saturday, December 17th, the Buffalo Bandits at Toronto Rock, 4 p.m. Pacific at the First Ontario Center. That's always going to be a game full of fireworks. The Rochester Nighthawks taking on the Albany Firewolves. I think I should say Albany. I'm pretty sure they get upset if I don't say Albany.
Yeah,
That one's
tomato, man.
Yeah, there you go. 4 p.m. Pacific. That's a battle of 2 undefeated teams that a lot of people I don't think expected to be undefeated at this point. Also on Saturday, the Philadelphia Wings taking on the Georgia Swarm in Georgia, 4 p.m. Pacific. Halifax taking on New York, 4:30 p.m. Pacific at Nassau Coliseum. And finally wrapping things up on Saturday evening, Colorado taking on Panther City in their second game of the weekend. That one's at 5 p.m. Pacific at Dickies Arena. So, Jake, with those games in mind, I'm going to list off some teams here. So Buffalo, Vancouver, Vegas, Philly, Georgia, New York, and Colorado. Those are the 7 teams remaining that are playing this weekend that are still searching for their first win. I know a couple of those teams are playing each other, but of those teams, who do you think is the most likely to get their first win of the season?
Ooh, where's the ding when you need it, Tino? It's tough to go against the defending champion Colorado Mammoth, I think, here in this situation, Tino. Reese Dutch being injected into that Mammoth lineup. I think they'll be a little bit healthier going into that game. I think they're going to be very motivated after coming off a bit of a stinker in Saskatchewan, and we know Dylan Ward likes to respond. They're at home. and Panther City playing in Vegas the night before. So I think you add all those things up, probably Colorado in that situation there, I would say.
I was really hoping you were just going to say Philly
do you
or
need more?
Georgia. No, that's
Well,
good. I was hoping
yeah.
you were just going to say Philly or Georgia because they're playing each other. I was hoping you were just going to give a dumb answer like that.
You know, I mean, for the record, I think I got Georgia in that game, and I think they get it done there over Philly. And I don't know what it is about Philadelphia. I'm still, it's only one game, but let's not talk about Philadelphia right now. I think Georgia wins that game.
Yeah, I think you and I are in the same boat on Philly there, but I agree. Let's move on from that. And I just got one more question I want to ask you there, Jumbo. Ty Merrow today released his latest Flash stats on Lacrosse Flash, and he was deep diving into Rochester, trying to answer the question: is what we're seeing, for real? Is this a team that's going to, be able to stretch out this hot streak throughout the entirety of the season, especially when a lot of people were counting them out before the season even started? So I just want to tease the article because you're going to have to go and read it if you want to find out what Ty's answer was. But Jumbo, in your opinion, then, do you think Rochester is for real?
I think face-offs matter, Merrow. I'll tell you that. No, you know what? I think it's a little bit layered here with Rochester. I think they obviously had a very good training camp. They got some new pieces in their lineup. They got a healthy Rylan Hartley and Connor Fields, who is on an absolute heater right now. So you can't take these wins away from Rochester, and they're 2 conference wins as well against Georgia and Toronto. I think other teams are going to close the gap here on the Nighthawks, and I think the Nighthawks might come back to the pack here a little bit. But the East is such a gauntlet, man. Like every single night, you're playing somebody good in that conference, and there's no easy nights. And the fact that Rochester's gotten off to a 2-0 start is phenomenal. Are they gonna? They're not gonna go 18-0. Obviously, we know this. Are they gonna make the playoffs? Maybe. After watching them for a couple of weeks here, I'm kind of thinking you're going to see the Nighthawks much improved from their record last year, but not into the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference quite yet. So, I think we're looking around 500 here for the K-Hawks this season.
Very nice, very nice. And again, everybody go check out Ty's article, Flash Stats. He's checking out the Rochester Nighthawks. You can find that on lacrosseflash.com. All right, that's it for this episode.
That's it.
So that's it, Jake. We made it. That's it.
All right.
So on behalf of Jake, the one in the background there, just berating me.
Sorry. Our time is too short together, man. I want to do this more. I want to do this more often. I want to do it longer. So let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Worst case, I'll talk to you when we record Lax Class, but whatever. That's more content for the people to consume. So thank you very much to Jake Elliott for joining us. I'm sure if anybody's going to be at the Warriors games, I'm sure you'll see him walking around the concourse at some point. On behalf of Jake and myself, Tino Fera. On behalf of Jake and myself, Tino Fera, you've been watching another episode of NLL Flash.